get on in case they're having trouble. And so I just wanted to touch on two things before we get started. In the massive amounts of emails that we got today, I'm sure you took an opportunity to read mine to just the committee. That was being facetious. I know it's hard to tell through the camera. So the two main points of that was, as y'all continue to see, I've been trying to tweak the way the agenda is laid out. I want it to have information on there that is helpful to us without bogging it down or having a whole lot on there. So I kind of like the format that I have going for tonight, but please send me feedback if you want to see some other things on there. If you want to see like maybe what was a staff recommendation to planning or something like that, or if you want to know if you want us to add like the committee, the report that planning sends to the committee, what page that is on, we could add that. Think through that, see what would be helpful. It's kind of a moving target, but I want to get as much feedback as possible on that. Second, and I think, Jenny, you might be the one giving me a bunch of feedback. Jenny, are you where you could mute? Okay. So, second,
telling me that I am muted, but you are going in and out and in and out and in.
Okay. I'm not showing you as muted on my screen. Okay, I think we're good now. So then the second item is that I put in there is whether y'all think it would be helpful to have planning staff come in, talk to us a little bit more about, thank you, Brett, a little bit more about, how the planning committee, planning committee report they send to us, what does that really mean? How is that different from the staff report that goes to the planning commission? Also, would it be helpful for someone to kind of come in and tell us kind of site plans 101, landscape plans 101, talk to us about what are kind of like some easy tips and tricks on how to read those, because I still kind of struggle sometimes figuring out what is on those and what's being shown and not shown. So if y'all can think through if those two items are helpful or have some feedback, please feel free to send it to me through Rosie, and I'll send that email again after, budget, when we're getting slammed right now with emails. So I'll go ahead and give the 10-second countdown for the Nashville network, and then I will call roll. So we are at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee for Tuesday, June 2nd. I'm going to run through the roll, and then we will make a motion to meet electronically. So, Emily Benedict, have you joined us yet? I do not see her. Russ Bradford, I see you. Tom Cash, I see you. Aaron Evans, I don't see her. Jennifer Gamble, I see you. Larry Hager, I see you. Jonathan Hall, not seen. Freddie, I saw you get on. There you are. Screen's jumping around on me. Sean Parker, have you joined us? I see you.
Yes, I'm here, Chair.
Great. Councilman Rutherford, I see you. Council Lady Stiles is going to join us late, hopefully. Council Lady Toombs, I see you. Council Lady Van Reese, I see you. And then Council Lady Welch, we've already interfaced, and Councilman Weathers, thank you. So I'm going to make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that the meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. So that's a proper motion. If Councilman Withers would like to second.
Second.
Thank you. And so what we'll do is raise your hand or speak if you'd like to vote against this motion. Okay, hearing none and seeing none. I saw that Councilman Hall has joined us. Anybody else joined us since I called roll? I don't think so. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with item number 2 on our agenda. We're going to run through consent as usual. So item number 2, RS 2020-337. This is by Councilman O'Connell, who is present. A resolution to approve the Sixth Amendment to the lease agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Square Investment Holdings, LLC, for office space in the Washington Building located at 222 2nd Avenue North. That is on consent for approval. Item number 3, RS 2020-347 by O'Connell, a resolution authorizing Fun Eats and Drinks, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment, a sign, at 408 Broadway. That is on consent to approve. The sponsor is present. Moving to item number 4 by Councilman Sledge, RS 2020-348, a resolution authorizing WeHo Flats, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 461 Humphrey Street. We have a letter to approve, and the councilman is present. Item number 5 by Councilman O'Connell, RS 2020-349, a resolution authorizing 131 2nd Avenue Partners, LLC, to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 131 2nd Avenue North. It is on consent to approve, and the councilman is here. Item number 6, we will hold on. Item number 7, we have already voted on. Item number 8, is Council Lady Roberts with us? I'm not seeing Council Lady Roberts or Council Lady Henderson, so I'm going to pull that from consent and keep it on the regular agenda. And item number 9 is also on the regular agenda. So consent, I'm going to run through these numbers, and so please raise your hand if you have something to take off of consent. That would be RS 2020-337, RS 2020-347, RS 2020-348, RS 2020-349. And that is our consent agenda. Councilman Withers, would you like to move for approval?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval.
Thank you. I will second that. And I do not see any hands or questions. And so what we're going to do is we are now taking a vote on our consent agenda. If you would like to vote no on the consent agenda, please raise your hand or speak now. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you. That takes us to Resolution BL 2020-298. This adopts the 2020-2021 through 2020-25, 2026 capital improvements budget for the Metro government for fiscal year 2020-2021. The public hearing is tonight, and I did not catch what budget did yesterday, but I am okay deferring this to the next meeting until after the hearing we have tonight. And so I wanted to see if there was any committee discussion about that, or if somebody was in the meeting yesterday in budget and wanted to report back what they did. Hannah? Caitlin?
This is Hannah. Budget and Finance, I believe, approved and then referred back to Budget and Finance. I would actually recommend that the main committee do that as well. If you defer it tonight, that'll result in an automatic deferral on the floor tonight. So you'll want to be able to hold the public hearing and then pass it on second reading, also to coincide with the timeline that's laid out in the charter, as this capital improvements budget has to be adopted by June 15th.
Okay, then what we'll do is, I hate approving things only to simply re-refer them back to us, but I am inclined to do that to keep this rolling on track. Council Lady Benedict, do you want to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I would just reiterate what Ms. Zeitlin said, is that the Budget and Finance Committee did, based on it being the capital improvements budget, they did say that we did decide actually as a body as a committee to defer the vote one meeting and re-refer back to Budget and Finance. I would suggest that planning do the same if we so choose. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so that would be actually a motion to approve and to re-refer. And so, Council Lady Benedict, do you want to remake that motion to approve the BL 2020-298 and re-refer it to planning? Is that the motion that you'd like to make?
That is correct. I so move.
Great, thank you.
I'll second that.
Was that a hold on a second, or you'd like to second that?
No, I was seconding the motion.
Okay. Was that you, Nancy?
Yeah, sorry. Hi. Yeah, I was seconding that. I was seconding that motion. Sorry.
Okay, so that's what we're doing. That is proper motion, and it is second and before us. So if you would like to vote against the motion to approve and re-refer, please raise your hand or speak now. Seeing none and hearing none, the BL 2020-298 is approved and re-referred to planning. That takes us to item number 8 on our agenda. Do we have Council Lady Roberts or Council Lady Henderson on the call? I do not see them, so we'll roll that to the heel. Moving on to item number 9, substitute BL 2019-78 by Sledge, an ordinance to amend section 17.16.070 of the Metropolitan Code to impose a minimum distance requirement for new short-term rental properties not owner-occupied from churches, schools, daycares, and parks. So let's see here. Where are we? We have the bill as substituted before us, and I'm going to go to Councilman Sledge for an explanation and a motion on his bill. I'm sorry, Councilman Sledge, you're not on my committee.
That's correct.
So I will make a motion on the substitute bill. Councilman Withers, would you like to second my motion on the substitute bill?
Second.
Thank you. Now to Councilman Sledge for an explanation of his bill and of his Amendment 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I guess I would ask the committee if they'll make a motion for Amendment 1 to consider it, and then I'll explain it.
Yes, I will move Amendment 1. Councilman Withers?
I will second that. However, I also have amendments. But yes, I will second that.
Great. I'll come back to you. If y'all don't notice, I typically have Council Lady Stiles as vice chair seconding things for us just to keep going procedurally. And Councilman Withers drew the short straw on that tonight. So Councilman Sledge, if you will move forward with explaining your Amendment 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Amendment 1 puts in an enactment date that says that we had several property members, I think this was reflected in our public hearing, who were somewhere in the development pipeline. So I had a stakeholder meeting with several of them, followed up with emails, talked to codes and planning, and what was produced was Amendment 1, which is to say that if you have your master permit in hand by September 1, if it's on file with codes, then you are not subject to this ordinance. So in other words, it creates a sort of enactment date in a way for those properties that were already in the pipeline. I reached out to, I talked specifically to 5 different property holders, some of whom who had multiple properties, who were kind of, again, in some stage of the pipeline. This ranged from somebody who had 2 units, who already had their UNO in hand, I mean, they were done, to some multifamily property developers who were somewhere in the process of applying for their master permit or starting to apply for their master permit, but hadn't quite got there. So this was a date that we all said, okay, this looks feasible. Code said that it wouldn't create any burden on them. And I think you've got a couple emails from stakeholders who were part of those meetings who said this was an amendment that was amenable to them. So I'd ask for the committee's support.
Okay, so any discussion on Amendment 1 as described by the sponsor? Please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no questions for the sponsor or discussion, we will vote. Oh, there you go. Councilman Withers, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the sponsor for continuing to work on this. Councilmember Allen and I had submitted an amendment which would have the effective date of this legislation match that of the legislation that were recently passed pertaining to RM zoning districts. That's one of the amendments that I had submitted, that Councilmember Allen and I had agreed, sort of reached the same conclusion on. And I wasn't able to participate in the discussion that Councilmember Sledge had with stakeholders, and I appreciate him doing that, but just didn't know if there had been any discussion in that committee about, again, about why we are placing a deadline basically in a couple of months, because it's great that we have some property owners that maybe are already in a development stage, but some may be earlier in, and I just worry about sort of having something what I think is a little bit wonky go into effect that soon. And when I say wonky, I've heard from constituents who live next to or own property next to a church or a school or some of those other categories, and that sort of leads to some of the other amendments that I proposed. And it sort of treats them differently than other neighbors down the street who might be next to them, or with the measurement that the Planning Commission considered looking at property lines. It seems to affect different properties differently in terms of if they were to have like a daydo or something like that, for instance, about whether or not they could actually have a permit. I appreciate that there is the public hearing opportunity, but it's just one of those things where I think, for me personally, I appreciate the work the sponsors put into it, at least so far, to work with different stakeholders. But I do feel like, maybe not all stakeholders or potential stakeholders have really had an opportunity to be consulted yet.
Okay, so Councilman Withers, do you have a specific question for the sponsor to answer?
I'm wondering whether the sponsor considered the amendment that Councilmember Allen and I had co-sponsored with the date, with the later date, and if there was a particular how the new date was arrived at, I guess, when there was already consideration for a later date.
Okay, going to Councilman Sledge.
Sure, yeah, and thank you, Councilmember. I think those are really valid questions, and let me see if I can make sure I work through all of them. So first one about considering the RM date, which is January 1, 2022. One of the reasons that we did talk about that in our stakeholder meeting, and I will tell you, I sort of set out when we were talking about it to say, this is a date that I think I struggle with a lot, in part because after we passed the RM legislation, Councilmember Henderson, myself, a couple of others, basically received messages from some of the actors in this space to more or less say that they had tricked us in so many words, that they had said, oh, we got it over in on them that January 1, 2022, this gives us plenty of time. It was all part of our plan. And I will tell you that it was pretty frustrating, I think, to members, especially, and I don't want to speak for Councilmember Henderson, but I think she expressed some frustration afterward, that legislation that was brought forth in good faith was painted as some form of gotcha. So I did want to go with that date because I felt like it, quite frankly, had a lot of negative connotations in the discussions we were having. So what I was looking for was a good, solid, bright line. I think some of the frustrations that we've all had as members about this issue over the years has been wiggle room for interpretation. When we were talking through, what is a building permit, there was discussions that there were several different interpretations of what a building permit might be. And so when I was talking with codes and talking with planning, we first actually started a conversation about having a use and occupancy permit, which is essentially the last thing you get.
Right.
So stakeholders said, look, a deadline with the UNO is going to be extremely hard for us to meet. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And so then we started talking about a master permit. And I went back to codes, went back to planning. Code said, look, a master permit allows all the departments to have gone ahead and gotten their feedback in, and it really shows an intent to build. Because as some members may know, short-term rental, whether owner or non-owner occupied, is an accessory use. So people aren't going in with their plans to say, I'm building short-term rental. They're going in and saying, I'm building multifamily, or I'm building whatever kind of mixed-use building, and then they'll go in afterward and get their accessory permit. So really trying to eliminate a lot of that work on the department's end to say, very clear and simple, master permit, it will allow Metro to review the plans for what they are, right? Whether public works impact, fire impact, all that. And then it gives opportunity for folks who are in the process to know, okay, I need to have all that work done in the next several months. And I had initially proposed a date of August 1 to some of those stakeholders to say, look, that's, you'll have a couple of months. They asked, we really prefer an extra month. I went back to codes. Codes had said, for all the examples I'd given them, which were pretty wide ranging, they thought they could get them all done by August 1st. So now they feel even more certain that they could get them all done by September 1. So that's how we arrived at that date. And then the one other thing I will address, the property line to property line measurement, that was suggested by planning staff in the planning hearing. So in that case, I took the recommendation of planning staff because they were essentially putting forth the substitute that we're discussing now, and said that would be what would be, again, administratively, the thing that would be easiest for them. So that's where property line to property line.
Thank you, Councilman Sledge. Councilman Withers, any further comments before we move on to Councilman O'Connell and Councilman Bradford in the line? Councilman Withers, you are muted. I can see your mouth moving, though.
Sorry about that. Please go ahead to my colleagues, and I'll just circle back to me if you can at the end.
Okay, you can leave your hand up. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to be clear, are we on the bill as amended now, or are we on the amendments?
We are on the substitute, and we're discussing Amendment 1 by Councilman Sledge.
Oh, got it. I'll wait till we've got that applied thing.
Thank you. Councilman Bradford.
I'm willing to wait till we get back onto the bill as substituted.
Okie dokie. All right. Councilman Withers, would you like to speak now, or are we ready for a vote?
I'm okay with going ahead and applying the substitute.
The bill is already substituted, and so where we are is with Councilman Sledge's amendment to apply his effective date.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with that, but there are other amendments as well in the packet.
Right.
So I'm okay with adding this amendment. Yeah, but going ahead with that.
We'll take one amendment at a time. And so, Councilman Withers, if you will take your hand down, because I vote by hand up, hand down. Councilman Bradford, thank you. You read my mind. We're getting used to each other virtually. All right, so here we are. We are voting on Amendment 1 by Councilman Sledge to substitute Bill 2019-78. And we're going to go through our normal routine of, if you are against this amendment, please raise your hand or speak if you are not able to raise your hand. All right. Seeing none and hearing none, Amendment 1 passes. Okay. We are now open to other amendments on this bill, if any other, or we're open to discussion on the substitute bill as amended. So please raise your hand if you would like to speak or move an amendment. Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to speak on the bill as amended, substituted. I just have some questions now.
Go for it.
So my understanding is that this only affects occupied STRs. Is that correct? Councilmember Sledge, is your sponsor?
Yes. You broke up for a minute, but I think you said only affects non-owner occupied. Yes, it only affects non-owner occupied.
So we're going to allow for owner-occupied STRs to be within this certain distance from churches, schools, and daycares?
Yes, we allow that as written now. The thought process being this, I intend this as a land use bill so that these civic uses that basically residents will be closest and have the closest access to these. So with owner-occupied STRs, by their nature, the owner would be a resident of Nashville, so they would have the access to those public facilities.
Councilman.
Okay, that clears up my confusion because I was under brief understanding that we were doing something completely different. So thank you.
Right. And I will say, as I mentioned at the Planning Commission, one of the reasons I was in support of this is that I recently, last fall, took a trip to Asheville, stayed in an Airbnb where they encouraged me to park our cars, if there were excess cars, at the local park. And, you know, our parks are not parking lots. Our churches and schools are not parking lots. And no, I mean, just from teenage experience growing up in Nashville, and I think currently we can all agree no good can come from a car left overnight at some of these places oftentimes. So, and I think this
Madam Chair, can you elaborate on that, please?
I think I'll move on, but I'm happy to come back to it at a little later date. And so I think that, you know, really, as we talk about who is Nashville for and who are we building a civic and municipal buildings for and parks and such things for, they really should be reserved for Nashvillians and not for commercial runoff of parking. So with that, is there any other discussion or movement on amendments? Councilman Withers. Councilman Withers, you have the floor. I can't tell if your mustache is moving or not, but you're muted.
Thank you. I guess part of my struggle with this, we did have a lot of discussion about 608 during the last term, lots of discussion about 608. And sort of, you know, the land use approach at that time was that non-owner occupieds were okay, according to 608, in commercial zoning. And of course, in District 6, and I had a huge amount of participation from constituents on both sides of the issue in District 6. You know, I do have lots of legacy commercial zoning on a commercial corner or here or there. We do have those parcels where the legacy zoning, the community plan, the 5 Points redevelopment district, which is expiring. But we do have places in the midst of the neighborhood where they do have mixed use zoning. And according to 608, our people sort of made plans based on 608 on the thought that potentially, at least, they could do short-term rentals in those, perhaps as part of like an upstairs residential unit. And I get that it's an accessory use or whatnot. But I just, that's kind of my struggle with this bill is that I'm a little bit more comfortable saying that this use is approved in all category, in all of this particular zoning category classification or not, rather than some of the distance requirements. Churches can be in virtually any location, for instance. So it's just, you know, again, we're sort of treating if you have an urban neighborhood like I do and several of us do, where you do have these commercial pockets or sometimes just single parcels in the middle of a neighborhood, we're sort of treating some properties differently than others that have identical base zoning classifications. And that's my struggle with this, is that we're sort of adding additional hurdles potentially for some of those property owners who have made decisions based on a lot of discussion around 608 in particular. And so that's kind of it. I'll just leave it at that for that comment. I did notice that Councilmember Allen has an amendment that exempts the downtown code. I'm not the sponsor of that. I don't represent the downtown, much of the downtown code area. So I don't know if Councilmember Allen or Councilmember O'Connell would have any thoughts about Councilmember Allen's amendment.
Before we discuss Council Lady Allen's amendment, it would need to be moved and seconded for discussion. So, Councilman Withers, were you moving Council Lady Allen's amendment?
I'd be happy to move it for discussion. Yeah.
Okay, that is a proper motion, but we will need
Second.
That was seconded by someone who seconded.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's picture's up, so I'm not always sure who's talking. So with that properly motioned and seconded before us, we are on Amendment 2 to the substitute bill. And what I'll do is, Councilman O'Connell, if you'd like to address this amendment, because it's my understanding the downtown code is solely in your district, and I think it's appropriate that we hear from you first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think considering Councilmember Sledge's overall approach to this, where the point is to make sure that public amenities that have been publicly financed are generally available to residents, I am perfectly content with the bill as it is. We have seen a lot of non-owner occupied short-term rentals in the downtown code. It absorbs a greater density than any other part of the city because it is not residentially zoned. And I think this is one of the rare tools that can make sure that actual residents downtown will be able to have some proximity to public amenities. So I'm perfectly.
Councilman O'Connell, I lost you after you said perfectly. My IT issue. Could you repeat starting from?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm perfectly content to have the bill with just Amendment 1, and I don't intend to support this amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman O'Connell. Is there any other discussion on Council Lady Allen's amendment exempting the downtown code as moved improperly before us? Councilman Withers, would you like me to come back to you? Your hand's up.
Sorry about that. I have no further comment on that one, but wanted to have a good discussion on it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. If you'll put your hand down. Okay, seeing no other hands, but this is a motion that is properly before us and seconded for approval. And so hearing the explanation from the council district who covers the downtown code, unless there is any other discussion, seeing none, we will take a vote. And so if you are in favor of Council Lady Allen's amendment accepting the downtown code, please raise your hand. And if you cannot raise your hand, please speak. Did I say in favor of that amendment? Those be in favor of that amendment? Yes. Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, then that amendment is not approved by our committee. 14 for 14 against it. Councilman Withers, you have two more amendments on my list. Would you like to move either one of those?
I guess sort of returning to that, I don't represent, technically the East Bank area is the downtown community plan, but I do represent a lot of property frontage along Main Street in Gallatin. And so I do represent a corridor, and that's one of the things that I was, again, sort of thinking of is that whatever my personal opinions about type 2 short-term rentals might be, again, based on our discussion at around 608, that if you're going to have those in communities, that building along a corridor is the okay place to do it. I actually have a property in which we had a lot of discussion in the community. It is on Main Street, and they are building townhouses, which will be offered as short-term rentals. That one, they actually have equipment on site, and so technically that particular property is presumably okay based on Councilmember Sledge's substitute. But again, I think for some of the corridors, and again, I'm full disclosure, like I'm not a fan, right, of type 2 short-term rentals, but I think for some of the commercial corridors themselves, that again, if we're going to have them, that is an okay place to have them. And so I would welcome any thoughts from other council members about exempting the commercial corridors. Again, we do have parcels that are deeper in a neighborhood, but the ones on the commercial corridor, I'm less bothered by.
Which amendment? Councilman Withers, are you making an amendment on? Are you making a motion on one of your amendments?
Amendment 4.
Okay, so Amendment 4 by Withers, and you kind of spoke of them as together and separate. So can you clarify what Amendment 4 is? What the summary of Amendment 4, and then your motion on it would be approval. But could you just summarize it in like a one-biter for us? So what does Amendment 4 do as opposed to Amendment 5, Councilman Withers? Are you, Councilman Withers, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Okay, y'all can hear me. Councilman Withers, do you hear me? Okay. Hannah Zeitlin, if you are on the line, can you summarize what Amendment 4 does?
Sure, and it looks like maybe Councilman Withers is having some bandwidth issues. So this Amendment 4 would exempt parcels fronting an arterial boulevard as designated in the major and collector street plan, and parcels that are not adjacent to 2 or more residential parcels.
Okay. All right. So hearing that explanation, Councilman Withers has moved and his Amendment 4, and we would need a second. Councilman Parker, are you seeking recognition to second that amendment?
No, I was hoping to discuss the amendment.
Okay, I'll come back to you. We are looking for a second on Councilman Withers' Amendment 4 as explained to us by our legal counsel. Please raise your hand if you'd like to second it.
Councilmember Murphy, this is Van Reese. I'll second that amendment for the purpose of discussion, please.
Great. Thank you, Council Lady Van Reese. So, Councilman Parker, would you like us to come back to you for discussion on this now?
If that's appropriate, sure.
It is discussion on Amendment 4 by Councilman Withers.
Okay, wait, let me see if I can, there I am. Okay, I appreciate Councilman Withers' consideration on this. I definitely share the desire to sort of not have short-term rentals in our neighborhoods, but, a lot of my district, and I think 6 and the other East Nashville districts are similar to this, is designated as, neighborhood maintenance or possibly evolving in some places. And so we're just really not going to get much more housing and density within those neighborhoods in the near future. And we do need housing for residents. And I think that the along the corridors is where we've kind of said we can get that intensity that we need. And I think that we've got to have some of that for residents. Things that we make a lot of public investment in, schools, for example. I had a staffer at one of the elementary schools in my district. They called me and asked Can you tell me about some of the development that's happening in the community? And, you know, are we going to maybe get some more students because their enrollment is dwindling? You know, sort of with the demographic shifts, and I'm sure that short-term rentals have had an impact on it in my community as well. And, you know, I had to basically tell them that, like, most of the multifamily that you're seeing over in that area in your zone is probably going to be short-term rentals. You know, even the stuff right by your school. So, you know, I think that this is again, I certainly understand Councilman Withers' point, but it's just that fact that, you know, these areas, these corridors are where we can build multifamily housing and get more residents in here to attend our schools and congregate at our churches and ride our transit. And I think that, you know, in the interest of sort of the original spirit of the bill, I would probably vote against this amendment. And that's all I've got for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Parker. I've got to echo that's something I had not thought about, but I think it is good for discussion because as we did just see our school board consolidate schools, and as we know, short-term rentals are here today, but we don't know if they may be gone tomorrow. And as these convert back to residential Nashvillians living in it, but we've already moved our schools, our churches have already had to move and things like that. What are those long-term implications? So thank you, Councilman Parker, for adding to that discussion. Is there any other? Colby Sledge, I will come to you on discussion for Amendment 4.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the amendment sponsor. I understand where he's coming from. I'd give just a brief example that I experienced last term that if this bill had been in place would have gone differently. So we're on 8th Avenue. There were two properties, I think essentially right next to each other. If not, they're separated by a couple of parcels. One of which was Grimey's when it was still at 8th Avenue, and they had to go through a beer permit exemption public hearing because they were on a corridor, but 99 feet away from one of these qualifying properties. In this case, it was a park, Reservoir Park. Just a couple of parcels down, however, was a commercially zoned parcel that, with no input from me whatsoever, flipped new construction, completely short-term rental, backing up right next to the neighborhood. And I think about how, you know, for a record store to throw a beer to somebody, they had to go through a council public hearing, but to have essentially 12, 14 non-owner occupied short-term rentals with the same zoning, same distance from these amenities, they didn't have to go through anything. Which one had the greater impact on my community? So with that, I totally understand where the sponsor is coming from, but I would say to Councilmember Parker's point, the real world impacts we're seeing, to me, says that in total respect, I would ask that the committee not recommend.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Sledge. Is there any further discussion? Council Lady Van Reese, I see your hand. We are on discussion of Amendment 4.
Yes, I want to thank Councilmember Parker for his insight in regard to the corridors with District 8 both being on Gallatin and Dickerson Pike. And as we try to look at Dickerson North's planning that's going on, Gallatin work that's going on, honestly, most of those parcels on the corridors are already zoned commercial. And if you want to build a hotel, let's talk about that. But if you want to build some residential units and the opportunity that those things have in store for us in regard to mixed use, we can talk about that. And I think that Mr. Parker is correct in clarifying that if you're wanting density for residential to happen on these very active corridors, that we need to provide opportunities for those things to happen. So I will respectfully be voting against Mr. Withers' amendment.
Right, thank you, Council Lady. If you will put your hand down. I am not seeing, okay, Councilman Withers, on your amendment, Amendment 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, again, I appreciate this discussion. What I would really say is that from a housing policy standpoint, what some other cities, I think you mentioned Nashville, what they have done is that they have actually taken additional layers of commercial zoning and removed type 2 short-term rentals from them entirely. And that is much more consistent from a housing policy. Again, that's a lot of it for me. It's just there's, this kind of uncertainty about, how many feet away you are from a particular business. I'm 100% on board from the housing policy standpoint, but these are some of the concerns that were brought to me by property owners who are East Nashvillians and people working on some of those projects or some of those prospects where they felt like it's just such a wonky way of making this particular land use decision. And particularly in, sometimes for adaptive reuses of a little existing building or some things like that, that the short-term rental use for them makes more sense. I mean, given the discussion we've had here, I mean, I will withdraw the amendment, but I do think this was a good discussion. I think that we as a city, if we're going to really embrace housing policy consistently, probably need to consistently look at additional categories of the zoning code and decide whether or not we want to allow short-term rental uses in those. I think that's much more consistent and predictable for folks, but that's not where we are today. So I will withdraw this amendment.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Withers. That amendment is withdrawn. We do have one more amendment by you, Councilman Withers, Amendment 5. Would you like to move or discuss that now? Okay.
No, I'll withdraw that one.
Okay. That is also withdrawn. Okay, so we are on the bill as the substitute bill, BL 2019-78, amended with Councilman Sledge's Amendment 1. Is there any discussion on the substitute bill with Amendment 1? And I think what we need to do, I will make, just to make sure, because I've gotten lost in all of our good discussion, I'm going to remake the motion for approval of the substitute bill with Amendment 1, just so we have it all packaged together. And so Councilman Withers, if you will make that second.
Second.
Thank you. And so if there is discussion, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none and hearing none, what we will do now is if you are wanting to vote against the substitute bill as amended with Councilman Sledge's Amendment 1, please raise your hand. If you're unable to raise your hand, please speak now. Seeing none and hearing one, substitute bill 2019-78 amended with Sledge number 1 passes 14 in favor, 0 against, 0 non-voting. And so with that, I am glad to see Council Lady Roberts has joined us. That takes us back to item number 8 on our agenda, BL 2020-279 by Roberts and Henderson. Council Lady Roberts, are you with us? Or are you just in the meeting?
I am, but I'm surprised this is on your agenda because it's not on the agenda for the meeting. Are you talking about the sidewalk legislation?
No, I'm talking about BL 2020-297, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main easements and to accept a new fire hydrant assembly for property located at 5320 Centennial Boulevard, MWS Project 19WL 126, and proposal number 2020M031EF.001.
Yeah, the other one that I'm on with Angie. I got you. Okay, I'd like to move for approval, please.
Actually, you are not on my committee. I just wanted to make sure you were here. I did not have a letter, so I will move the amendment. Councilman Withers, would you like to second? Fabulous. Second. Hearing the bill summary, this was on our agenda. Now that we have the council lady, does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, if anybody would like to vote against this, please raise your hand or speak now. Seeing none, hearing none, the bill passes 14 in favor, 0 against, 0 non. And that takes us to the end of our Let me triple check. That takes us to the end of our agenda. I will move to adjourn. I assume that is seconded by Councilman Weathers. I see him. Yes. So thank you all for some great discussion. See you in our next.
Ms. Murphy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello.
Yes, Councilman Hager.
Yeah. Supposedly Hannah said I had a late filed ordinance 2021-51, but I don't know if it's on there or not.
It came to me, and so then I said that I would put it on the agenda. I will ask for the bill number and some details on it. And I was told by Rosie that Danielle said that it would not be in our committee today. So I did,
Okay.
It's not on our agenda. So I think there may be, I'm not sure where that is, but I was told.
Yeah, this is,
take it off.
This is Hannah, sorry. I was gonna say, sorry. So I was mistaken earlier when I said it should be in this committee. It does not need to be in this committee. It'll come to the committee later. So it'll
Okay.
only today.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that takes care of it for Councilman Hager. So we will now adjourn.